Commander, after a 5-day trek through hostile territory, we have finally arrived at our AO, the area of operations. Your objective is the enemy airbase at the like button. Take it out, Commander. President Alan Sky's good night's sleep tonight depends on you. Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 163 to 168 in the Russo-Ukraine war, or the Russian special military operation in Ukraine, for the 5th to the 10th of August. So I have been away in Indonesia at Batam, and I was planning to do the updates when I was there, but after the first day, which nothing much have happened in Ukraine, and then I wasn't able to find the time to do. So I just happened to just disappear because all my free time was busy doing my other work. So anyway, otherwise, thanks for waiting. Sorry for all the panic. I know a lot of people panic. A lot of people email me and private message me. So thanks for the concern. I did inform the DPA officers, the DPA patrons at the Patreon. If they didn't tell you, the officers are not doing a good job. So no good. Poor leadership. So anyway, let's go on to the summary. So 5 days. So should have a lot of things that had happened. Again, we are not covering the cross-border shelling problems because it's getting a little boring and repetitive, becoming quite pointless since the Russians are not intending to invade from the north anytime soon from it. Okay, so let's do some missile strikes. So first thing first, on the August 7th, the Ukrainian this special communications channel reported that the Air Force of their armed forces have reported that the Russians have used the Kinzhal, the Kh-47M dagger, at military facilities in the Vyvodove region. So according to, I corroborate this information with the Russian side. They had this information. This is on the 9th. This information come from the 9th, and they talk about 7th, so I went to 7th, and then I managed to find this information from the Russian Defense Ministry. They only say high precision long range air-based missiles, so which means that they already downgrade Kinzhal into something just another missile that destroyed an active buried command post in near Voronovytsya or Voronovytsya. Not sure where is the buried command post, but anyway, they destroyed it with a Kinzhal strike. So so this is quite significant because the Russians do continue to use hypersonic weapons when they need to. They're not using it liberally. They're using it more like, if there is such a situation where there is reinforced underground positions that they need to hit, they will hit it. So we can definitely confirm that hypersonic weapons under the Russians are now more and more operational as a common weapon for them that they will use. So this 300 HIMARS destroyed, it will be in the HIMARS watch. I'm not going to cover HIMARS related stuff. Okay, this is also another HIMARS thingy. That's a HIMARS thingy. Okay, so the Russian have struck the Foreign Legion stronghold, so-called stronghold. I'm not sure what they mean by a stronghold, since it's quite far from the front. And as a result of this precision strike by the Russian Air Force, more than 80 foreign mercenaries and 11 pieces of special equipment. I wonder what kind of special equipment, right? I mean, destroyed in Vyvodove and Dnipro region. This is really far from the front, so I wonder. Yes, I wonder what special equipment is that. What else is this? What else? So we have no information about the most hated bridge in the world. So let's go on to, I believe we have covered, what is this? Yeah, a lot of HIMARS related stuff. So move on to the Mykolaiv front. At the Mykolaiv front, this bridge, there's no more news because previously it was hit again. This is the world's second most hated bridge. And then at the third most hated bridge, at the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant, there is one side of the bridge was hit. It's actually this part only, because the rest of the part is actually very reinforced. It's part of the entire dam structure. This is the only part that they were trying to hit the Ukrainians. However, the bridge is still operational. If civilian traffic continues to go on it, there's quite a few holes, but even this area is actually very reinforced. It's a very huge pillars. So the Ukrainian multiple launch rocket system, whatever they use to hit this bridge, they try to hit this part and this part, try to collapse the part that do not have the concrete pillars, the massive pillars that is holding up the bridge. There is a few holes, but it seems like insufficient. I think they may actually need airstrike to actually effectively take it out. Because the caliber is probably not enough. So at the Mykolaiv front, we don't have anything on the southern side. In the northern side, there is fighting reported at Pervomaiske. This is according to the pro-Russian source, Rybar, where the Russian forces try to advance at a stronghold, Ukrainian stronghold at Pervomaiske. And where's my icon? Where's my stronghold icon? Never mind, forget it. Let's put it in. Maybe I accidentally Ukrainian stronghold at Pervomaiske. I remember adding it, but no, never mind. 9-8. So 9-8. I give it this icon. Okay, so but since then, after the knife, I haven't seen anything about this attack on Pervomaiske. And east of it, there is also fighting reported towards Partyzanske, which is another stronghold by the Ukrainians holding the control of the road, as well as Blahodatne. So we can see that the 108th Regiment of the Airborne Forces of Russia began an assault on Blahodatne, west of Snihurivka or Snigirivka. And this one is the other one where the Russian troops are attacking a powerful fortified areas near Partyzanske on the way to Mykolaiv. So this information is from the 6th. I can assume that the attack have failed. So that's why we haven't heard of anything since the 6th. So because we are covering 5 days, so on the 6th, then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, we all haven't heard of anything about this attack. So the attack has failed, and probably this one has failed as well. But you can see what the Russians might be trying to do. They are trying to pincer this area, which is probably a strong position by the Ukrainians. And if they are able to surround it or cut it off from resupply, then the Russians might be able to take this a very strategic position on the western highway, eastern highway to Mykolaiv city. Moving on to the Davydiv Brid front, we don't have much information about all this. I can delete these icons. The entire advance of, so according to the pro-Russian source, they say that the Ukrainians, after taking Lozove and Enerhodar and Velyka, that's as far as they can go. They're currently stuck at this position. They are unable to move further forward. So, and then we have quite a number of planes are getting shot down over north on the northern part of this Mykolaiv region. We have a Su-25 shot down over Sontseve. This is pretty far away. I tried to fact check this. It looks like it's correct. because this Kryvyi Rih region, Krovograd region, which is actually I believe it's this part. Or am I wrong? Am I wrong? Am I right? Should be correct. I think. Anyway, so once Su-25 is shot down, and then that is on the 6th. On the 10th, we have MiG-29 shot down over Troitsko-Safonove. Su-25 over Novokhrystoforivka, and Novosilka Su-27 over Novosillya. Novosillya. So these 3 planes all shot down in the same text you can see here, and they are accordingly shot down by Russian Air Force, which means that I previously had already mentioned that the Russian Air Force seems to be able to fly very deep into Ukrainian controlled territory, which also is a sign of a lack of surface-to-air missile systems, or the major ones in the Ukraine arsenal. Like the S-300, many of them has been destroyed. There are probably still more of them around, but it seems like they are not having enough of these surface-to-air missile systems to protect their airspace, which is why you are seeing all these aircraft getting shot down way inside their own territory, inside the Ukraine controlled territory, which means the Russians can actually fly pretty over, because you don't really need to fly over this place to shoot them down, but it might be like probably over the Ukrainian lines, which even if you have one S-300, you'll be able to range any Russian aircraft all around. So this is why I mean there might be a lack of surface-to-air missiles on the Ukrainian side. On the Kryvyi Rih Front, we have no updates. There is no information except this. Interestingly, the Rybar mapping claimed that Novovoznesenske is under Ukrainian control. This came out of nowhere because we haven't really seen any offensive or fighting reported in this location. Suddenly, in their mapping, they show something like this. And I will highlight a bit more later about this problem with Rybar's map, because their map seems to be very unreliable at times. And I'll show you later when we get to the Siversk Front. Going over to the Zaporizhzhia side. On the Zaporizhzhia side, there is shelling reported at Enerhodar. Sorry, let me put this up. Okay, sorry. So at Enerhodar, there is bombardment reported on the Enerhodar, on the city itself, as well as is on the nuclear power plant. So firstly, you have this shelling by 152mm artillery, and then there is this causing some electrical and water supply problems, and then hydrogen pipelines, and then on this one is on the 5th, and then on the 7th, the nuclear power plant was hit again, and then causing power surges and causing smoke in the open switch gear. So a lot of things happening, and I believe there is more after that. There was a hit on the spent fuel rods as well. So this is getting a very ridiculous. And on the pro-Ukrainian side, they're saying that it's the Russians that is hitting their own location. They are hitting the nuclear power plant. They are claiming that the Russians are the one that is doing it. However, the information coming out from pro-Russian side, the Ukraine from Rybar, saying that the Russians are actively trying to link up the Enerhodar, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, to the Russian power grid, particularly the Crimean power grid. So, which means that there is no reasons for the Russians to actually hit their own asset or facilities, because this will be very useful for the Russians to provide power to the entire region that they are now currently controlling. There's no reasons to hit it themselves. So clearly this is a Ukrainian attack on the nuclear power plant, because the Russians actually put a lot of effort trying to ensure safety. They checked through everything when they first conquered it, and they have been trying to secure it. But according to Russian sources, is that there is a lot of problem at Enerhodar, because there is a lot of the Russian maybe humanitarian side of stuff or the repairing side of stuff, they are, and information side of stuff, they are unable to go to Enerhodar very effectively. So the population at Enerhodar is very jumpy as well. They are not so sure if the Russians are able to hold this position, and all this bombardment is just going to make it worse for the population here at Enerhodar in their confidence in the Russians, because they are afraid that if they become if they really open their arms and welcome the Russians, then they will not, if they are identified and then the Ukrainians retake over, they are afraid of the retributions that will come after, which is why things are quite bad. And according to the pro-Russian source also as well, that the radio stations and there's lack of internet service around here as well, then as a result they're still getting mostly pro-Ukrainian radios and information. As a result, this information blackout for the pro-Russian side is lacking, and it's causing a lot of problems in terms of the social side of stuff. This is all information over the past 1-2 months, which I have never reported about because it's never really that important. But as the bombardment comes, the population here is going to have some deep thoughts, you see, about what is coming for them next. Probably there will be some exodus of people going away, afraid of a nuclear disaster as this carries on. From my understanding, a lot of the population here actually works at the power plant as well, from my previous understanding. Let's see how this goes. Let's move on to the Zaporizhzhia line itself. A Russian Su-25 was reportedly shot down over somewhere in Zaporizhzhia. So according to this special communication channel by the Ukrainian side, they said that during a raiding in the Zaporizhzhia direction, the fighter of the National Guard launched a missile from Igla manpad on the Su-25. So they hit the target behind the forest belt, and then an explosion occurred. The plane fell into the Russian controlled territory. So which is confirmed. He said they confirm. We not confirm. The target is destroyed. Then the fatal shot was made by a fellow of the already famous Zaporizhzhia Avenger. So we have a Zaporizhzhia Avenger. Previously, I understood that this was already dismissed. So somehow in the official Ukrainian channel, Zaporizhzhia Avenger is back. So, which is also a fighter of the National Guard of conscription. According to what I can remember, is this guy is like 18 or 22 years old, around that. He's a very young guy. So Zaporizhzhia Avenger. And then, anyway, I think this is no more. Yeah, this is no more. So that's all from the Zaporizhzhia side. The rest, all these are all HIMARS related stuff, which I'm not going to talk about here. You should go and subscribe to the DPA IRL channel. You can find the link in the description below. So please go and follow or subscribe over there. There is this fighting at Novopil is no more because it's 2nd of August. There is, however, fighting reported at Velyka Novosillya. This is according to the Ukraine Defense Ministry on the 9th of August. And then there is also fighting reported in the same line of text at Vremivka. But because Vremivka under our mapping is under Russian control, by claiming this, which means that they are claiming control over Vremivka, which is why we have this question mark here and a overlapping border of over at Vremivka here. So this is the very end of the Zaporizhzhia line. Coming to the Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, there's fighting reported at Mykolaiv. This is latest information from today's information, the morning report from the Ukrainian side. They said that the Russians tried to advance near Mykolaiv. And then there's also fighting reported at Shevchenko. So the way how they wrote sounds like the Ukrainians actually led an offensive action, because Shevchenko is actually under Russian control. So the Ukrainian soldiers met the Russians with accurate fire and pushed them back. Back where? No idea. So there's at least fighting. We know that there is fighting around Shevchenko. Situation not so clear. There's major fighting over at Marinka. So according to the Ukraine Defense Ministry, in the same line of that very weird text about led offensive actions. I put it as a Ukrainian attack, but most of the fighting is actually around here is probably from the Russian side. And latest information from the Ukraine Defense Ministry, they said that the Russians are leading an offensive in the direction of Marinka. So there's fighting around at Marinka area. And then on the 10th of August, all the way here on the western side of Donetsk city, there's fighting reported in the west of Staro-Mikhailivka. So Staro-Mikhailivka is here. This is Staro-Mikhailivka. So they only mentioned west of Staro-Mikhailivka. They didn't mention Krasnohorivka. So I believe the fighting is in the middle around here, which is probably what is happening over here. This report is interesting because it's coming from the Ukraine Defense Ministry. They say that there's a fighting in the direction of Novosilka from Lozove. Novosilka is here. This small little town here is Novosilka, and from Lozove, which means that there is this push in the middle between Pisky and Krasnohorivka by the Russians. So between 6 and 8. So this is the 6, this is the 8. And they try to push through, but since the 8th, we haven't seen any information about this. So probably they are stopped by the defenses. And moving on to Pisky. At Pisky, a lot of fighting going on. We have the 7th of August reported fighting in the northern part. 4th of August, we haven't have a direct information about fighting at the southern part. Most of the information is just talking about fighting reported at Pisky, which is all from the Ukraine Defense Ministry on the 8th and then all the way on the 11th. So which means that the fighting is still ongoing over at Pisky. Pisky, there's a lot of rumors about, the Russians are trying to clear up. They are mopping up Pisky. It effectively controlled it. Some people say that Pisky has already been conquered. And those are before I left for Indonesia. So, which means it's not correct, because the fighting continued to be reported at Pisky until now, which means that the Russians are still trying to fight the defenders. They continues to come here to defend, but a lot of the stories coming out is that there is huge amount of death and destruction on the Ukrainian defender side because of the massive use of artillery on the Russian side. So that's all from Pisky. And then let's move on to Avdiivka. So at Avdiivka, there is continued fighting all the way. I saw reports from 8, 9, and 10, all from the Ukraine Defense Ministry. So this is the problem with some of the Ukrainian reports. They say the Russians carry out offensive action. No success, retreated. Offensive action, no success, retreated. Offensive action, no success, retreated. Which means, and this is 8, 9, and 10, which means that they are actually continue to attack. Continue, which means that there is still no results yet. So to say that no success and retreat is just kind of weird. It's because it's daily. And then there's also fighting from the southern side. So because we have one that's coming from the Minerone areas up, and there's another action coming, another force coming from Spartak up towards Avdiivka, which is reported on the 7th and on the 10th. Both is also from the Ukraine Defense Ministry. So similarly, the fighting continues. We haven't seen any breakthrough probably as of yet at Avdiivka. Moving upwards, there is a fighting reported from Novokhrystoforivka towards Krasnohorivka over here. This is according to the Ukraine Defense Ministry on the 7th and on the 9th. So they're fighting this way downwards to Krasnohorivka. Should Krasnohorivka fall, then the Ukrainians might have some problem with at least, I'm not sure if the train is actually still operating. So, but we will start to see Russian forces moving to Stepov, Bridaichi, and then forcing an encirclement on Avdiivka, which will then pressure the defenders to actually quickly retreat through Orlivka and Umanske out. So Krasnohorivka must hold. If they do not hold and the Russians take step off, take Brzedachi, then the pressure will be on for the Ukrainians to whether to continue to hold this position. So let's see how this goes. There is no other actions over on this side north of Donetsk, except that there is this MiG-29 that was shot down over Toretsk on the 9th of August. So otherwise, things that happen around here is mostly just bombardment. We didn't see any ground offensive around this region. I think the main reason is because the priority now is to relieve Donetsk from Ukrainian bombardments, which is why you can see that the actions is all, you see all these red icons, red cross swords icons, the fighting icons is all around Donetsk, pushing outwards to gain more space, so that at least standard Grad artillery or barrel artillery will not be in range of Donetsk. I think you need at least 30 kilometers. 30 kilometers actually means that the Russians need to conquer a hell lot of settlements, which is not going to be easy. Because with 30 kilometers, you can at least be assured most of the artillery pieces will not be able to hit Donetsk city. So it's which is why some major maneuver movement will be needed to force a retreat from the Ukrainian side. And the best is always to break through from the rear and then cut the supply line and then force the Ukrainians to panic and retreat away, similar to what happened in Severodonetsk and Lysychansk. Moving on to the Bakhmut Front. So this is a Bakhmut city or town. Should be city, I guess, a small one. We have information that Travneve has been captured by the Russian forces. So based on the Rybar mapping, Travneve have been captured, and also that the Ukraine Defense Ministry no longer mentioned fighting at Travneve over these 5 days, and then they added that fighting is coming from the direction of Travneve towards Zaiseve and towards Kodema, which means that they acknowledge that Travneve had been captured. And we have information from Enerhodar showing a video, which is a DPR war reporting. They filmed at reportedly Kladosove, and then which would mean that Kladosove has been captured by the Russian forces. This is actually a very tiny town, a small village, and this is corroborated with the latest information from the Ukraine Defense Ministry today, just 1 hour ago, where there is now fighting reported at Dacha. So I'm sorry, this is, I think I quoted the wrong line. Translate, sorry. Where's Dacha? 4 now here in the area of Vashan and Dacha, hostility continues. Sorry, I think I quoted I pasted the wrong line. Yeah, this should be the correct one. So which is why this actually corroborates with the information that Kladosove has been captured. And at Zaiseve, fierce fighting continues. We have 4 different reports from the 7 to 11, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, all talking about the continued fighting in this region. And according to the pro-Russian sources, they say that a few of the Ukrainian soldiers have reportedly captured, or not sure if this is a surrender, but they say they were taken prisoner, according to Rybar. So the fighting here is by the Donetsk People's Republic militias, and that's all from this southern side. At Kodema, there's fighting from 2 directions. One direction is coming from the south, which or the southeast. So fighting towards Kodema from Travneve. So this is by the Ukraine Defense Ministry on the 7th of August. Since then, most of the reported fighting is just fighting reported at Kodema on the 7th and on the 8th. So from the 8th, according to the pro-Russian source Rybar, they say that the fighting is from the east. So fighting from the east side, from the Zaporizhzhia area. This is no more. So before we go on to Vyshina, we have a lot of pimples around here. So let's delete all these pimples because they are no longer relevant now, as the front line have moved on, so that we can clean up the map a bit, so it's not so confusing. So we leave the one near the front line, only the one in the rear area we just delete them. For those that wonder why I have to do all this now, because I want to show you guys this happens, rather than you come into a summary and then realize that why there is so much changes which is not reported. So moving on to Vyshina. So Vyshina is getting attacked on the pincer, which I mentioned previously. So on the 7th, there is an assault coming over from the Vremivka, which is a Vyvodove direction towards Vyshina, and then there was a fighting reported from the southern side. And then since then, the fighting is reported simply at Vyshina. So on the 8th and on the 11th, 11th is today. This is the part where I paste the wrong text. Yeah. So in the area of the Vyshina, and Vyshina continues to be attacked. Fighting continues. The interesting part is Sontseve, or Sontseve, if you read it in the English way. So there's fighting reported from the direction of Zaporizhzhia, and also on the day before, they say it's from the direction of Kodema or Novosillya. And then since then, the fighting is reported simply at Sontseve, and this on the 8th and this on the 10th. So we have the two reports. So Sontseve continues to be contested, and you can see that this is looking like surface to air missile here. They see the 3 missiles, but then we have this weird stuff here. Never mind. So anyway, this we can see that the Russians are fanning out in multiple directions. So usually fanning out in multiple directions is very worrisome, because it doesn't work very well when you try to fan out. It's probably better to concentrate on one direction, one position, and push through, which usually works much better for the Russians. When they do fanning out, progress start to get very bogged down. So but that's all. So fighting continues over at the Bakhmut city area. There is fighting reported near Bakhmut from the 8th to the 10th, while there is also fighting at Bakhmut itself from the 6th all the way to the 10th as well. And this is reported mostly by the Ukraine Defense Ministry, because so the reason why there is lesser of the Rybar's report is because I always go through the Russian and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry report first. And since the Ukrainians have already mentioned this, the mention of fighting by the pro-Russian side, I no longer need to repeat it again, since the information is correct. So which is why you see most of the information is coming from the Ukraine Defense Ministry. It's not so you don't think too much about whether should we trust them or not trust them. So far the informations are mostly very accurate. So far the Ukraine Defense Ministry nowadays are very accurate, and all this information can be corroborated mostly with pro-Russian sources. So so previously we mentioned that the Wagner PMC have entered into the suburb, and then they continue to be stuck there actually. So based on the Rybar information, you can see that the fight continues in the eastern outskirts of Bakhmut, and then there is enemy reconnaissance conducted probably into the city, and the progress into Bakhmut seems to be really hard, very difficult. So that's why since 5 days ago, the last summary, we reported this, and currently they are still around the same region. They are still unable to penetrate through. I'm quite sure that Bakhmut is a very, very heavily defended city, so it's not really very surprising. Moving on, there is no longer any more dispute about Partyzanske from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, so I can delete this. And since that, we can also delete these pimples. Delete. This is over. Also no more. Delete. So moving on to the Soledar region. At the Soledar area, fighting continues at Soledar, and there is fighting reported at the Knauff Gimson, which currently is actually still fighting over there. There is a rumor, according to Wargonzo, that the Russian forces have captured the Belokamensk Refractory Plant, and so according to Maps Ukraine, which is a banned account on Twitter, which is this information is from their Telegram channel. They quoted Wargonzo. So, but Rybar say that the reports of establishing control over the industrial enterprise are premature. And according to the latest information from Rybar, they say that the 6th Cossack Regiment of the Luhansk People's Republic are still developing a offensive towards the refractory plant in Soledar. And in case you think that the plant looks like this, very cool stuff, it's not. It's like this. This is not even a plant. It's just wasteland with some buildings, and you can see these buildings are all destroyed. Actually, mostly destroyed. And if you actually look at the Yandex version of the map, you can actually see that there's a lot more resolution, and you can see that these buildings are all hit and looks less destroyed, probably still very much destroyed. And you can see that most of the buildings here is just flattened into powder. So when they talk about capturing or attacking the refractory plant, don't imagine it to be a Azov style kind of. It's not an Azov style kind of plant. It's not even a gypsum. It's not even this gypsum Knauff plant. It's just wasteland. So it's just wasteland. So I'm not sure what's the hype about this area. Because that's why it's a bit important for us to do the mapping. Because when we read reports like this, it's like, wow, another industrial facility. The Russians are so great. Hoorah! It's nothing. It's just wasteland. So though it's not really that significant, to be honest. However, because of the dispute, I have actually pulled back the front line. Previously, I pulled the front line all the way to the front here. Because the Rybar have report this as premature, I've actually pulled back the front line to just outside of the previous area of this plant. So previously there was really a plant here. You can see the foundations. You can see the previous building area, but it's now just powder. The entire plant has been dismantled. So that's all for Soledar. Moving on to Yakovlivka. So there's fighting at Yakovlivka from the 7th and the 10th, both reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and they are fighting from the south. There is also advancement from the Vasylivka region here. However, this information was not repeated. This information coming from which day? Let's take a look. It's from the 4th of August. So we do not have information of this fighting from the east. We only have mostly the fighting from the south, from the 7th and the 10th, both from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. On the 8th to the 11th, we have reported fighting for Yakovlivka or at Yakovlivka or near, which is less clear about the exact direction the fighting is coming from. But we can see that heavy fighting is coming over at Yakovlivka town region, and the fighting continues over here. So but Novokhrystoforivka continues to be a question mark. We're not sure what's happening here. There's no more challenge for the capture of Nahilne. there is also no more dispute for Vyvodove. So fighting have now reached Vesely. According to the Ukraine Defense Ministry report from on the 9th of August, which is the Singapore National Day, or our so-called Independence Day. On that day, the fighting is reported over there at Vesely. However, it's actually combat reconnaissance, so it's not a major ground offensive. It's just probably the scouts or the recon troops moving forward to see where are the Ukrainian positions. And however, there is still fighting. Over here at the Siversk Front, in this Siversk city, at the Siversk Front, major changes to the front line. I have decided to revoke all the capture of Sperne, Novokhrystoforivka, as well as Vremivka, because the Ukrainians have very consistently continued to claim the control from the 6 to 11, from the 7 to 10, in fact 11 as well as Vremivka. The insistence that these are all Ukrainian positions and the lack of progress on the Russian side, as well as lack of information from the Russian side, suggests that these positions are never captured by the Russian forces. And then we have corroborations because there is fighting reported at Belokamensk. From the 8th to the 11th, we have reported fighting by both Ukraine Defense Ministry and Rybar. They say east of Siversk there's battle in Belokamensk. And the troops are able to advance to the center of the settlements, which means that they have not captured it. Correct? This is how we read it, right? The Russian troops will advance to the center of the settlement at Belokamensk or Belokamenskoye. And then but I want to show you. However, this is Rybar's mapping. However, on Rybar's mapping, you see they put it as under Russian control. So is Vremivka. And this is very misleading. This is where the part I want to talk about Rybar's mapping. You see, they also mark Sperne as controlled. However, now they're reporting that the Russian troops are only in the center of the town, which means that the mapping is not exactly done by the same person as the person who is doing the reporting, the one that wrote the text. Which means that the guy that is the graphic designer is doing this mapping refused to remove the wrong information and continue to hold this position as under Russian control. Whereas where they actually have to mention the fighting in the center of the city. In the later mapping, they show the Belokamensk as being attacked by the Russian forces, which means that their previous information is actually wrong. Which is why Rybar's mapping now, really is not exactly the most dependable map to go to for information, because at least for our side, as we try to gather information, right, their map doesn't seem to correspond to reality at times. So according to the Ukraine Defense Ministry, they have continued to assert this control for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, which is why I have to give the blue flag to the Ukrainian side on all these three positions. And in the latest information on the 11th, the latest report, the Ukraine Defense Ministry reported an offensive near Vremivka and Belokamensk. So fighting continues in these positions. For the Sperne, there was a fighting reported on the 10th, which is yesterday. So assault operation in the direction of Novovoznesenske, Sperne, which is kind of weird because Novovoznesenske is nowhere near Sperne. So that is kind of ridiculous. Unless they are saying that Novovoznesenske, this is a south to north direction, which is one hell of a weird way to quote a direction, because they could have just said Vyvodove. So anyway, fighting is reported at Sperne as well. So for Vyvodove, there is no dispute that is under Ukrainian control, and the fighting continues in this area. So I have this feeling that the commander on the Siversk Front on the Ukrainian side is really good. He's probably also the one that stopped the the crossing at Novokhrystoforivka a month or two ago, and then the entire defense line here following the Donetsk Oblast border has continued to hold very well. So maybe this guy, this Ukrainian commander over this area, I suppose, should get a promotion because he's doing a really good job holding back the Russians. The Russians are unable to actually make any breakthrough at all. While originally I thought Siversk would be the first major city outside Luhansk to fall, turn out the Russians actually reached Bakhmut first. So that's how war is. We don't really know what's going to happen. So I don't like to do too much prediction because prediction makes me look bad. Moving on to the Izium front. At the Izium front, fighting continued at Bohorodachny as well as Dolena. Only on the 7th. After that, there is no more report on the fighting in this area, which means that this attack had failed to gain ground for the Russians, which is why probably no more news coming from this side. Then this is no more. This 3rd of August. The claiming of control is disputed. So the Ukraine Defense Ministry mentioned that Dubrovnik received shelling from the Russian side, which means that they have control over it. This information is disputed by by Rybar, the pro-Russian source, saying that this is actually a gray area, something like a no man's land kind of thing, which is why claiming control over this area is kind of weird. So otherwise, there is not much information over this area here. What is this? Okay, not important. So there's fighting reported on the 5th of July at the Liman Lake. So there's actually this small little lake here that we are not seeing. It's actually here. Whoops, here. So according to the pro-Russian source Rybar, they say that in the forest east of Protopopivka, so the Ukrainian troops attempt to dig in around this lake area. However, they were discovered and then they were chased away by the Russian forces. So this area continued to be one hell of a gray area, which is why there is totally no borders or no controlled territory listed here, because things here is very fluid because this is the forest and troop positions actually move a lot. So this front line here is based on the Russian Ministry of Defense mapping, so which makes a lot of sense because I don't think the Russians will actually hold positions near the river. It's probably there will be some gap. The gap currently, the way how I list it, is around 5 kilometers away from the Ukrainian positions across the river. So probably more conservative. Over at the Balaklia front, but this is Balaklia city, there is fighting reported at Husarivka. This is yesterday, based on the information from the Ukraine Defense Ministry. Previously, we have already reported that's fighting at Husarivka. However, there was a lull. Nothing's happening at Husarivka until the yesterday's report from the Ukraine Defense Ministry that there is fighting in the direction of Bayrak, Husarivka. So Bayrak, Husarivka, this direction. So let's see whether this offensive will hold, because previously after just one attack, then nothing happened after that. So that's all. This, if you wonder, this is another HIMARS thingy. I will report on the HIMARS watch. And welcome to the Khaki front, or the happy front. So at the happy front, I have happy news. I have decided to give Sontseve to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry as well. This based on information on the 9th of August, they continue to say that they have control over the area as they reported shelling by the Russian troops. So, which, given the amount of time they have continued to repeat this, I decided to award this to the Ukrainians because I think this is the most likely the correct information. And according to Rybar's mapping, while I say it's not very dependable, they actually show Kryvyi Rih as under Ukrainian control. So which means that the Ukrainian forces might have already captured Kryvyi Rih, and so that actually alters the front line. So we have 2 control or 2 captures by the Ukrainian side. There is fighting, however, reported at Udi, according to the Ukraine Defense Ministry, coming from the direction of Veterinane. So Veterinane, you might not see it here, but if you zoom in further, it's here. Veterinane, and in this direction towards Udi. And of course, as usual, the fighting is unsuccessful. And so this is this fighting at Udi area. I think, do we have information? So the fighting at Vasily and Oshova has subsided, because this is from the last summary. On the 4th, there is no more reports of fighting over this area, so I will delete this. And the fighting at the Dementivka area is also no more. I will delete this. A Potomnik one, there is fighting reported on the 5th. So I'll just leave it here, because since this is this summary from the 5th to the 10th, so I just leave it here, but probably we'll delete this if there's no more information as we go along. I believe we have covered everything. So other than the HIMARS related information, which I plan to do a HIMARS watch over at the DPA IRL channel. Please do subscribe over there. I plan to do more content over at that site. So hopefully there's something interesting to talk about. Yeah, there's some interesting about the HIMARS things, some claims of destruction and stuff. We shall see. And anyway, this is the summary for the day of 163 to 168 for the 5th to the 10th of August, 5 days. So sorry again for disappearing, and I did inform the patrons, the DPA officers. However, they did not spread the words. So yeah, anyway, and I'll see you in the next update.